Miami, 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 Miami. Miami. UFC 327 was mayhem, dude. This card was insane. This was one of the most entertaining cards of all time, in my opinion. This card was insane, dude. And we knew, top to bottom, had name value all over the place, great matchups. This card was amazing, man. 10 out of 10. And we got a lot to discuss because what comes with a really good card is a lot of entertainment, a lot of great performances, but also a little bit of controversy as well. So we are going to break it all down in this video. I'm going to be reacting to the entire UFC 327 card. Listen, man, Jiri Prochazka. It breaks my heart, man. It breaks my heart, man. Jiri Prochazka getting knocked out in the very first round by Carlos Ulberg, as now Ulberg is the new light heavyweight champion, and we had one of the greatest fights of all time on this card in Curtis Blaydes versus Josh Hokit. Paulo Costa going vintage Costa, or was it vintage Costa? I got some thoughts on that as well. We got a lot to discuss, man. I'm just going to jump right into it so I can get yapping because this card was insane, man. Absolutely insane. We had so many great performances, and really, this right here is going to go down as one of the all-time knockouts, man. One of the greatest performances I've seen from a fighter. And the reason for that being, Carlos Ulberg was compromised. He stepped back in that left leg. I don't know if it was his knee, if it was his foot, Achilles. I have no idea what went on, but he was clearly compromised. He clearly hurt something. And I'm like, oh, no, you got to be kidding me, man. And you got to think what's going through Ulberg's head here. He's like, all of these years, man, all of the performances that I've put on to get to this very moment, and I get injured in the first round of a title fight opportunity, and I'm in front of a super dangerous Jiri Prochazka, and now I'm compromised? You got to be kidding me. It's round number 1. We still got 4 more rounds to go. And Carlos Ulberg never panicked, man. Never panicked. Was stumbling, bumbling around, trying to find his range, trying to get to that left hook, which he ultimately did and was able to catch an overzealous Jiri Prochazka coming, recklessly charging forward, as we know Jiri does. It's what makes Jiri super entertaining. And it wasn't even actually that he was that reckless. Ulberg just timed him perfectly. Ulberg is a sharpshooter, man. He's a tactical sniper. And if you give him any windows of opportunity, he's going to make the shot. And that's exactly what he did against Jiri Prochazka, man. And I know that Jiri, the showing mercy and, people are kind of pushing that narrative around. I don't know about all that, man. Jiri Prochazka was then kicking and attacking that banged up, wounded leg of Ulberg. And to me, it was kind of one of those situations where it felt like Jiri had a wounded animal in front of him. He started to gain in confidence. You could see him put his hands up, and he was kind of, getting all excited playing that kind of game. And then Ulberg bit down, stood in the fire, man, and made it. I can't tell you how impressive this is, man. Like, there's so many people, we love Jiri Prochazka, man. But for Carlos Ulberg to get compromised, bite down and decide, dude, I'm compromised. I'm going to have to make something happen because the longer this fight goes, not only does Jiri get better as the fights go, but I need to make something happen because I'm banged up. I need to plant my feet, and I need to make something happen. And it's exactly what Carlos Ulberg did. And that is a bulletproof mindset. A guy that had showed grit, determination, and got it done. And he's a sharpshooter. He's an absolute sharpshooter. And again, I said I like Carlos Ulberg a lot, man. And I said when Ulberg bursted onto the scene in the UFC, this is a dude that's going to be at the top of the weight class. So that aged pretty well. Now, I did pick Jiri Prochazka to get this fight done, but I said whoever wins, it's going to be a knockout. And if Ulberg gets it done, he's probably knocking Jiri out early. He'll catch him on the way in. And it was going to depend upon, I had no doubt that Ulberg was going to land on Prochazka, but was Jiri going to get caught clean enough that it puts him away, or is he going to be able to eat a shot, battle back into the fight, deal with some adversity, and make it happen? Because we saw Jiri land some shots early as well, but it was the fact that Carlos Ulberg stayed calm, he stayed composed, and when he had his back along the octagon side and Jiri started to, I think he tried to throw a right hand and step in, and Ulberg just timed him with a beautiful counter hook, man. Ulberg's hook his left hook is picture perfect. Throws it perfect, man. It's fast. One of the things about Ulberg we talked about in my breakdown, waves that hand around, gets the jab going, and then he'll throw the jab. You start to throw and counter, boom, the left hook comes right after it. It's perfect, man. It was perfect. So people out there that are kind of doing, well, the Jiri showed him grace, man. He showed him mercy. I don't know about it because you were attacking the lead leg, Jiri. You were attacking the lead leg, and this was just devastating because if Jiri was going to lose, this is how I saw it going down. Not Ulberg getting compromised and then walking him into a shot, but Ulberg just touching him, setting him up. Right? Jiri would come in trying to land a shot, and boom, Ulberg would catch him. And we saw Ulberg working the lead leg right away, which we all expected. Right? Ulberg to be that surgical tactician on the feet, picking his shots, sticking and moving, playing it smart. It's exactly what he was doing. Was maintaining range very well. Man, like, I know that we're big fans of Jiri. But at the end of the day, Ulberg, how about it, man? Dealing with that adversity, planting your feet, deciding and making it happen in a massive moment. This was insane, man. This was an insane performance by Carlos Ulberg. And yeah, it sucks because I wanted to see Jiri get the belt back. He's a fan favorite. Jiri Prochazka's must-see TV every single time. But if you've been watching Carlos Ulberg, you know what to expect, man. This dude is one of the better strikers in all of the UFC. In terms of the tacticalities, the movement, the speed, he's a great athlete, and he's very, very surgical and prepared with his approach, and that's what we saw in this fight. He knew that when Jiri Prochazka would explode into range, those are those times to capitalize because his hands are down, which, again, that's part of Jiri's style. That reckless, chaotic approach, it's hard to pick up on some things to where you can get caught, and that plays in Jiri's favor, but also it's kind of like you're rolling the dice each time, especially against a sharpshooter, because it's like if he times you, you are going to be very vulnerable to getting caught and knocked out. And that's exactly what we saw in this fight. And Carlos Ulberg is one of those guys, man. He's a shark. And when he smells that blood in the water, he's not going away. If he lands that shot, he will pounce on you and get you out of there. So I'm not surprised in the way this fight played out. I did think Jiri would be able to weather an early storm. The fight would kind of build. We would get into those middle rounds, and then we could see Jiri probably land some sort of knockout shot to get Ulberg out of there. But time and time again, I was saying, and I know a lot of people were as well, early on, Carlos Ulberg is unbelievably dangerous. It's not to say that Carlos couldn't have knocked him out later on, but to go out there early, make those quick reads. These CKB guys are very prepared, man. Very prepared, and Eugene Behrman's a heck of a coach. A heck of a coach. And they knew what to do. Stick and move. Don't get into the fire with Jiri. Make him come to you. Set those traps, and it's exactly what Ulberg did. And to be compromised and not panic, but realize the moment of, I got to make something happen here, man. Because if this round gets done and I got to go back to the stool and I got to get back up, or even if he would just stand in the corner and have to come out, you know, the mindset of, man, my leg is compromised and I'm in front of a super dangerous dude in Jiri Prochazka, man. Like, to battle through all of those things, I don't feel like people are necessarily giving Ulberg enough credit. They're just kind of like, well, Jiri lost and Jiri showed mercy. I'm not quite sure how Jiri really showed mercy because he saw he had a compromised leg and was attacking the leg with kicks. So to me, this was about Ulberg walking him right into his power, man. Walking him right into his power, tactical sharpshooter. Brilliant performance by Carlos Ulberg. And again, sucks that he got injured in the fight. At least that's what it looked like. I haven't seen exactly specifically what happened, man. But for that to happen and to pull this off, I think that's one of the most sensational performances I've seen. Seriously. Because Jiri Prochazka is that good and that dangerous. And I feel like in a way, Jiri did let his guard down a little bit. He said, oh, this guy's he's having a problem with his leg here. He's basically on one leg. Wounded animal. Let me take my time and pick my shots. And on the way in, got caught by a nasty hook by Carlos Ulberg, one of his best weapons, if not his best weapon. And listen, man, Carlos Ulberg, one of the best strikers in all of the UFC right now, and to go out there and beat a guy like Jiri Prochazka, like, this is a big win, man, because Jiri's a fan favorite. We all like Jiri. Right, I like watching Ulberg a lot. He's a true tactician. If you're looking for some things to add into your arsenal, man, and you want to really learn how to be a surgical striker, these guys from CKB are fun to watch, especially like Carlos Ulberg, man. Great technique, good speed, and the way that he pulls guys into his shots almost kind of trapped Jiri and baited him in to an exchange a little bit to be able to land that counter shot. So great performance by Carlos Ulberg. Again, going to be interesting to see what happens here. What is the injury? Because if it's something significant, he just won the belt, and I assume he's probably going to be out for a while if it's something serious, right? It looked like it was maybe the knee or something. So going to be interesting to see what happened there because how long is he going to be out for? So, and then again, this kind of has been the light heavyweight division for a while, man, right? When Poatan had the belt and then Ankalaev, it was like we had some kind of clarity there. But remember when Jiri had the belt, he got injured, he had to vacate, and then I think it was, what did Hill have the belt and then he got injured, had to, or whatever. It was just basically playing hot potato with the belt. So it feels like maybe we're heading down that road once again. I hope that Ulberg is all right, man, and can come back at a reasonable time and be able to defend the belt. Because listen, man, dude realizing his dream, coming out here, massive moment, didn't flinch, when it wasn't going his way in terms of getting injured. Was landing some good shots, but then you get injured, and then you got to like shake off, like, man, you can't let that doubt creep into your mind. But we saw that urgency. Ulberg bit down, decided, made it happen. Great performance by Carlos Ulberg. And I don't really know where Jiri goes from here, man, because he's a massive fan favorite. We're always going to want to tune in and watch Jiri fight. But in terms of him being the champion, I don't want to say that those days are over, but I think that him becoming the champion again, especially at light heavyweight, it's going to be very, very tough, considering you still have Ulberg in the weight class. A lot of these guys on the rise, these dudes that are coming from 185 up to 205 that have speed, they have technique on the feet, they have good timing. You know, it's going to be interesting to see kind of how this goes for Jiri moving forward. But I think it'll motivate him, and he'll bounce back strong. So great performance by Carlos Ulberg, man. I feel like people aren't giving Ulberg necessarily enough credit because we like Jiri and he's the fan favorite. But this showing him mercy thing, I don't know about all of it. I think he saw a wounded animal in front of him, was kicking that leg that was compromised, and then Ulberg made it happen, walked him into a shot, set him up beautifully. Carlos Ulberg, nasty striker on the feet, great timing. Great performance by Carlos Ulberg, especially given the circumstances. And to finish Jiri in the very first round is wildly impressive, man. Wildly impressive. So we'll see, like I said, is Ulberg going to be able to defend right away? I don't know, depending on kind of what his status is. But in terms of the next fight, it's going to be interesting to see, because who's the clear-cut next guy to fight, right? If Murzakanov would have beat Costa, it probably could have been him, but you know, maybe they give Costa a shot. Maybe they do an interim belt in the meantime. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do, so it's going to be interesting to see what goes on, because I know Ankalaev just had the belt, lost to Poatan in the rematch, so light heavyweight looking a little bit murky right now. But given the fact that Ulberg has not fought a lot of these guys towards the top, and we got a lot of middleweights moving up, right? RDR, Whitaker, Costa. Light heavyweight getting kind of interesting, man, and having a new champ like Ulberg opens up a ton of options. So great performance by Ulberg. Jiri will be back, man. That was tough seeing Jiri get clipped like that and put away. And I said literally, I was watching the fight, I'm like, all the pressure's on Jiri now, in a way, because Ulberg's compromised. So if you get knocked out by literally almost a one-legged Ulberg, it's like, man, that's a tough look. That's tough. And that's exactly what happened. So very, very, man, wildness, man. Wildness, madness in the main event, man. Great performance by Ulberg, though. Azamat Murzakanov versus Paulo Costa. This was nuts, man. This was nuts, because the first round, it's looking like Costa's fight. He's coming out there, ripping the kicks to the inside leg. Murzakanov's having some problems, because one of the things that we broke down when we talked about this fight is really it's the power in the hands of Murzakanov versus the speed and the kicking of Costa. And Costa deals very well with southpaws. And if you're a young fighter out there and you're learning how to approach southpaws, Paulo Costa is one of the guys to watch, man. The way that he is able to just shred these southpaws is impressive. Rips the leg kick to the inside leg, right? So you not only are you chipping away at the base, but now you start getting those hands to drop down to worry about the leg kicks. You're aggravating them. You're disrupting their timing, their entries. Then he starts ripping it to the body, taking wind out of the sail, battering the midsection, damaging that backhand, that left arm, right, which is what I think happened to Murzakanov as well. Damaged the heck out of his arm. Then you start to bring the kicks upstairs. So Paulo Costa, I've been saying, one of the best kickers in the UFC, for sure. One of the best kickers. So Costa gets ahead. He's winning the first round. Murzakanov, I'm like, dude, he's cooked. Costa's just going to coast and put on a masterclass and get him out of there. And then Murzakanov has a really good bounce back round in round two and takes a second round. So now we're 1-1. Costa's getting stung, getting hurt in round two. And I'm like, okay, Murzakanov's battling back. And the Murzakanov's energy just fell off of a cliff, man. Those body kicks were adding up. The kicks to the leg, right? Costa was tagging him with some good straight shots down the middle as well. Caught him with the left hand on the way in. I think that was earlier in the fight. Costa landed, I think it was like a power jab or something. Was able to rock Murzakanov. Murzakanov takes him down, gets him into a little bit of a hold. And I'm like, is he going to... I didn't think he was going to submit Costa, because Costa's very good on the ground, very fundamentally sound. Then Costa gets on top. He's landing some ground and pound. And then comes out in round three and looks like a rejuvenated fighter, does Costa. Murzakanov's wearing the damage. He looks tired. He's bloodied up. And Costa's just ripping these kicks over and over and over again, and eventually lands one high and just melts Murzakanov and gets him out of there, man. He damaged that. I think he damaged that left arm, which is one of those things, man, in an open stance battle. If someone's got crazy kicks, you just rip them to the midsection, and then bring them upstairs. And you're just, even if it's being blocked on the forearm, man, right? This isn't a Costa wearing shin guards here. This is a bare shin bone landing off that forearm, man. So you can break someone's forearm that way, damage it to make it a lot harder for that, southpaw to get the power hand going. Paulo Costa is really a brilliant fighter when it comes to fighting these southpaws, man. And we didn't even see the right hand of Costa too much in this fight. Murzakanov was doing a pretty good job of not overextending in because we saw Costa baiting in Kopylov into exchanges and catching him with that right hand. So Murzakanov very aware of that, but it didn't matter, man. Murzi on his mind, man. He got destroyed by Costa in round 3, man. He just did, and in the first round as well. But it was weird because I thought that Murzakanov was shot after the first round. I'm like, this is terrible. He's getting beat up, man. And then he comes out in round 2, has a good round 2. I'm like, here we go. Now we got ourselves a fight, man, because every time Costa fights and every time Azamat fights, I mean, it's must-see TV. Must-see TV. And for Costa to go out there and finish a 16-0 thunderous power puncher that moves really well at 205 in Murzakanov, like Costa, this puts him right in, almost in a way, right into title contention. Like if they're going to do some sort of interim belt, Costa's a big name, man. He's a star. He markets, right, on the microphone, at the press conferences, and Costa's officially found his weight class, man. Like, and I'd been saying for years, like, Costa should not be at 185. Go to 205. But I think a lot of the problem was his reach, right? He had a reach advantage over Murzakanov, which maybe that might be the first time in Costa's career, at least in years, that he's had a reach advantage. So stylistically, this was a good matchup for Costa. Now, even though I thought Murzakanov was going to get it done, we literally laid out the path to victory for Costa, man. Rip those kicks to the body, stick and move. He played very, very good off the back foot, not always having to be that pressure guy moving forward. Costa has gotten people are like, this is vintage Costa. This is Costa that fought Romero. No, it is not. This is a better version of Paulo Costa. He's lighter on the feet. He's doing a better job of moving in and out of range, pulling you into shots, intelligently setting things up instead of being this brute force that's just walking you down flat-footed, not taking a backward step, loading up and throwing all these volume-based winging punches. This is a much better version of Costa, man. A much better version. We saw that against Kopylov. I just didn't know if it was going to be enough where I felt pretty confident that he could outscore Murzakanov in terms of the striking totals, but it was going to be one of those things. What we saw in round 2 was my worry for Costa, the power of Murzakanov, winning the moments to be able to get it done, rocking him, dropping him, those kinds of things. Murzakanov had a very good round 2. People are acting like Costa just ran away with this, and while it was a very impressive performance from Costa, Murzakanov did have a good round 2, man. So I know a lot of people don't like Murzakanov or whatever, but at the end of the day, give the guy his credit because he had a good round 2. And but Costa shredding him, man. Round 1, round 3, great performance by Paulo Costa, man. And a big one because if Ulberg's out and they do an interim fight, I could very much see Paulo Costa in there against someone like Magomed Ankalaev or whatever they do at light heavyweight, man. Like I said, light heavyweight is on the murkier side. But big win for Paulo Costa. Incredible performance, man. Sensational. Curtis Blaydes, Josh Hokit, this is one of the greatest fights of all time. This is one of the best fights I've ever seen. Now, in terms of the technique, a lot of people are like, man, this was just basically a barn burner brawl, right? And we had moments of that, but there was a lot of technique on display, man. Josh Hokit's striking has came a long way. He's actually pretty technical with the boxing. And Curtis Blaydes throws 1-2s. He's very technical. We saw some technicalities. We saw chaos. This fight was insane. This was probably the greatest heavyweight of all time, I would say, and literally one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, that we've ever seen. These dudes should get like a $1 million bonus each, man. Like, this fight was insane, man. Absolutely insane, and it was so insane that right after the fight, they booked Josh Hokit versus Derek Lewis at the White House. So I'm excited for that. An early prediction, I think Josh Hokit's probably going to get that one done as long as he doesn't get caught early by Derek Lewis because Derek's older and Hokit's movement is insane, man. This guy moves, which we know that, and I've been... Listen, Josh Hokit, dual sport athlete at Fresno. Football, played fullback, wrestled, was in the NFL in the practice squad, I think for the 49ers, I believe. This dude moves very well, man. And to me, this was more... If Josh Hokit ran over Curtis Blaydes in the very first round, yes, it would have been impressive. This, to me, was more impressive. Because Josh Hokit was 8-0, had faced almost no adversity whatsoever in his entire career, and he battled adversity in this fight, never faded, never backed down, and kept moving forward, making things happen. We saw the gas tank. We saw the output. We saw the pace. We saw the power. We saw everything from Hokit in this fight. Everything. Everything from him. So all the questions that we could have had where I was like, man, if this fight goes later, how does he deal with that? Because he's basically been the hammer all the time. Well, what happens if Curtis becomes the hammer? How does Hokit deal with that? And he dealt with it perfectly fine, man. This was a crazy fight because even though Blaydes outscored him in terms of the totals, at least that's what it's saying here, got some takedowns as well, the damage was clearly on the side of Josh Hokit. Curtis was wearing damage very bad. And I think Curtis Blaydes should retire. And I'm not saying because he lost this fight to Hokit, but this is the kind of fight where Blaydes has already been knocked out numerous times by power punchers, and now you go in there and you have a all-out crazy war, an all-time, this will go into the Hall of Fame. This fight was that insane, man. And I feel like this is kind of a bang for Blaydes to go out on. And if he's going to have one more, like give him someone that's not that dangerous where he could go out there and maybe get a win and then ride off into the sunset. But a guy that's taken a bunch of damage, been knocked out by several power punchers, and then you have a war like this, and you're getting up there in age a little bit. I think Blaydes is still good, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying this is the type of fight that at this point in your career, I feel like that can really kind of suck the fighting life out of you of kind of what was left for Curtis Blaydes. But man, there was no loser in this fight to me. This was the fans won. We all won. This was an insane fight, an amazing fight, and I love that they threw him on the Freedom 250 White House card, man, because when you got the momentum, listen, is it cringe and gimmicky and whatever that Hokit's doing? Absolutely. But guess what? He was the talk of the town for 327. He was the one that was getting all the eyeballs. He was the one that was drawing all the attention. People were talking about him constantly. And at the end of the day, in order to market yourself, whether people like you or don't like you, it's publicity, man, and you're marketing yourself. And not only that, he went in there and backed it up like crazy, man. If he would have knocked out Blaydes in the first round, don't get me wrong, it would have been impressive. But we've seen power punchers take out Blaydes. But to go in there and have a crazy, all-out, action-packed war like that, to me, in a way, is more impressive. So we found out a lot about Hokit because now if he knocked him out in the first round, what would the question still be? Well, how's he going to deal with adversity, round 2, 3? But we don't have to worry about that now because we've seen it. We've seen it against a very experienced tactician on the feet in Curtis Blaydes, who's not the most devastating puncher, but he was fighting behind good straight punches. And I don't know how Blaydes was eating some of those shots. I don't know how he was eating some of those shots because Hokit's fast, man. His hands are fast. He was throwing in good knees in the clinch to the body, some good elbows. This was an amazing fight, man. While we saw these scrappy, brawl-like moments, there was some technicalities behind it as well. Blaydes was kind of sticking and moving and grooving, and then Josh Hokit would kind of look like he's kind of hurt. And I don't think he was. I think he was kind of playing that drunk uncle out there kind of thing, right? Just kind of, and then boom, boom, would step in and land a couple power shots. So this was a great fight, man. I enjoyed this fight more than probably just about any fight I've ever seen, honestly. This fight was that good. So Josh Hokit, say what you want about the guy, the cringe, the tactics. Some things may be funny, some things maybe not. Goes out there with all eyeballs on him and by far the biggest moment of his career after only having 8 pro fights. Massive step up in competition. Goes to battle. Out damages Curtis Blaydes in an insane action-packed fight. Nobody lost this one in my opinion. The fans won this fight. Amazing scrap. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Hokit. Because this fight was absolutely insane, and we learned a lot about Josh Hokit in this fight. It was an amazing performance by Hokit, man. His power, his volume, his output, craziness, man. Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, worst fight on the card. And again, I don't want to say I should have saw this coming because I'm not going to act like I knew that was going to happen, but it feels like when we build up these fights, we're like, man, it's got to end in a KO. It feels like when we say that and we're like, man, this is just going to be I was calling this the chinny, chinny, chin battle. Chinny, chin, chin, chinny, chin, chin. Johnny and Dominic got the chinny, chin, chin. It's like, it was literally the glass cannon battle. And they decided to basically be like, we're glass cannons, we're chinny. We're not even going to land anything clean. We're not going to take any risks. And that's what happened. No one took risks here. It was kind of a tactical back and forth. And I will say the commentary was pretty bad on this fight because if you were listening to it very cleanly and clearly, you would have thought Johnny Walker dominated this fight 30-27 and Reyes landed like nothing and Reyes landed everything. I mean, Johnny Walker essentially landed almost nothing with his hands. He was basically just chipping away with calf kicks and throwing an occasional kick upstairs. Dominic Reyes was throwing kicks to the body, kicks to the leg, mixing in some boxing as well. More versatility was on the side of Dominic Reyes, but I really didn't. Whoever won this fight, it to me isn't a win. This was a garbage fight. Both guys were super hesitant. But we talk about this. When guys are a little bit on the non-durable side, they get a little bit older in their career, or They both have the ability to knock each other out, and they both were worried about it. We get these stalemate fights, right? Remember in Ngannou versus Lewis, we've seen this before with the power hitters, guys that, and I'm not saying that in terms of the durability with Lewis and Ngannou, but you know what I mean. Two guys in there that can knock each other out. They're very hesitant. That's what we saw in this fight, and it was basically a sparring tit-for-tat, you go, I go type of matchup. This fight was garbage, and it slowed down the momentum, man, after all the stuff that we had seen on this card. But at the end of the day, Dominic Reyes gets the job done, and we picked him to get it done. I thought he would get a knockout early on. I feel like everyone thought that this would end in a KO, and it didn't. It was one of those fights. It was a bad fight, man, overall. So leg kicks of Walker versus the boxing of Reyes mixed in with some kicks. I did think Reyes won this fight, but not by much, and I had no problem if they would have given it to Walker either way. Bad fight. Cub Swanson, Nate Landwehr. I picked Cub Swanson to win by round 1 KO, and I'm telling you right now, that version of Cub Swanson that showed up last night, obviously, he had the Papa Bear thing going on. He's like, man, I'm riding off into retirement, dog. I don't care about my gas tank whatsoever. I'm leaving it all out there. I'm coming in the best shape I can, the best technicality version that I can. Cub Swanson last night looked like a top 5 featherweight. That version of Cub Swanson that showed up in that octagon, at least for a round, you could put in there with just about anybody, and I think he's got a chance to win. That was how good Cub Swanson looked like. Whoa, you're glazing Cub Swanson, man. Cub Swanson not only is one of my all-time favorite fighters, Cub Swanson is an OG and a legend of the game, man, and he deserved that retirement package. I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they set it up that way because this was, I believe, the last WEC fighter, which is crazy, man. Reminiscent on old times. I go back and watch old WEC fights all the time, like Cub, DP. It's nuts, man. Sad to see Cub go, but I love seeing him go out on top like that, man, because not everything is always a fairy tale ending, but I felt like Landwehr was the perfect matchup for him. Landwehr is essentially a moving heavy bag, a guy that, is known for his durability, his grit, and his toughness, and every fight that Landwehr is in is entertaining, but once you're known for your durability and you start getting knocked out a few times, that is usually the sign that the end is near. And I think that that's where we're at for Landwehr because he's a little bit older in his career. Cub Swanson dominated this fight, walked him down with no respect, hands down, nasty combinations, vicious, ferocious boxing, nasty leg kicks, and just beat Landwehr pillar to post and got him out of it. Cub Swanson, this was the best performance of his career, maybe. And I know that he has that crazy fight that's in the Hall of Fame with Choi, I believe, right? Which is one of the greatest fights ever as well. This performance, was spectacular. And I know Landwehr a little bit older, but don't change the tune now because so many people were picking Nate Landwehr to win this fight. So I picked Cub Swanson by round 1 KO. Figured he would be too much. Wasn't going to play around in there. And in terms of the technicalities, it wasn't even close. It was just the fact of Cub's 42. And if he kind of blows his wad early on, what's going to happen if he slows down and Landwehr gets into that zombie mode and battles back into the fight as it plays out. So amazing performance by Cub Swanson. Happy to see him go out on top, man. And like I said, training with Danny Silva and Larry and Douglas, some of the guys that they have on the rise at that gym, like there was no way that Landwehr was going to have anything for Swanson, man. So Swanson, good coach. We see the guys that they got coming out of that gym. I'm excited to see how he does as a coach moving forward, man, because one of my favorites to watch, man. That slick boxing style, hands down, clean, crispy combos, devastating power. Cub Swanson going out on a high note and also coming off of a nasty KO on that Tampa fight night. I can't remember who that was against. Was it Quarantillo or somebody like that? He got a nasty KO. We picked him in that fight too. So shout out Cub Swanson, man, an OG of the game, one of my all-time favorites. Love his style. And sad to see him go, but glad that he's able to get it done on top, man. Excited to see what he's able to do as a coach. Dominant performance over Landwehr, and I think the end is rather near for Landwehr. Once you're known for your durability and you can no longer take that kind of damage, it just kind of, I don't know, man, rough to see for Landwehr at this point. Patricio Pitbull, Aaron Pico. This was one of those fights where I was saying that if Aaron Pico does not learn to be more patient, which I wasn't sure that he was going to, which, by the way, a patient Aaron Pico is a very dangerous Pico, and I wanted Aaron Pico to win this fight. I thought that he would walk into a right hand of Pitbull, and that's kind of what was happening early in the fight. Patricio was landing some good right hands, but the size difference was crazy, man. I didn't realize, I knew that Pico was bigger, but these guys looked like they were in two different weight classes. And we got to see Pico's boxing on display. Beautiful combinations, fighting behind the jab, and this to me was a career-turning, defining type of performance by Pico. Not only to get a win over Pitbull, but after getting knocked out by Lerone Murphy, to come in here and be very tactical, very patient. He rocked Pitbull numerous times in the second round. I thought he was going to knock him out, and then he didn't just push for the finish. He didn't get overly aggressive to where he could get caught. He tactically picked him apart, mixed in the wrestling, controlled him on the ground. This was a brilliant performance by Aaron Pico, and one that I was doubting that he was capable of because we just hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it. It was either basically a first-round finish or an early finish from Pico, or he gets finished. That's kind of been his career for the most part. And then he goes out there, is very tactical, picks apart an older Patricio Pitbull, but Pitbull's still shown that he's pretty good, man. We saw that against Dan Ige, had some moments against Yair outside of, getting kind of picked apart. We saw some moments. Aaron Pico's a problem, man. And Aaron Pico's one of those guys that, he's not the most durable guy. Ate some shots in this fight, though. Right? If he fights patient and tactical and smart, he's a problem for just about everybody in this weight class because he has the wrestling, he has the striking, especially on the offensive side. His defense is a little suspect, but his boxing is clean, right? Training with Calavito, I can't remember his name, the strength and conditioning coach with Hamzat and Dillashaw and Arman. Pico's in great shape, man. Great gas tank, great wrestling, really, really technical striking. This was the Aaron Pico I was waiting to see. So glad we saw him put on a technical performance. I was rooting for him. He proved me wrong in a sense because I thought that he was going to walk into something, and he almost did in the first round. Pitbull was kind of playing that game, but Pico, very keen to that sharp right hand that Pitbull likes to counter with. Some calf kicks from Pitbull were landing as well, got away from him a little bit, but this was all about Aaron Pico, man. A patient Aaron Pico. Very dangerous, picked his shots well, mixed things up, was very tactical, picked his shots well. Great performance by Aaron Pico. I was waiting to see something like this from Aaron. Now he's also ranked as well, so I'll be interested to see what kind of matchup he gets because that was a great performance, man. Fantastic. Almost knocked. I thought he was going to knock him out, man. And shout out to Pitbull for the chin and the durability. I don't know how he made it the distance, man. I thought he was getting KO'd. Kevin Holland, Randy Brown. Typical Kevin Holland fight. You count him out, and you think he's done, and then he decides to look good. And in my opinion, I don't think Kevin Holland looked that great in this fight. I mean, he had moments where he looked really good. It was just Randy Brown looked really good in the first round, and then after that, he just fell off a cliff. His gas tank sucked. He was trying to force grappling entanglements, almost got submitted by Holland. I don't know how he survived it. I thought Holland was going to get him out of there. And, Randy Brown slowed down a lot, and Kevin Holland was just able to outstrike him, out-volume him, beat up the lead leg. Randy Brown still has not solved the leg kick problem. He's got those toothpicks, right? And Kevin Holland fought smart, butchered the lead leg, set up the hands as well, was able to get some grappling exchanges going, almost submitted him, which that was crazy that Randy Brown was able to survive that on the ground. So good performance by Holland. This is how Kevin Holland is, man. His fights are hard to call. He'll go out there and lose a fight that you don't think he's going to lose, and then he'll win a fight you don't think he's going to win. Like, hard guy to predict his fights, man. But at the end of the day, I guess, levels, because Kevin Holland's been in there with some of the better opposition and been able to beat guys that are maybe a little bit better than some of the dudes that Randy Brown has been able to beat. So Brown started fast, started out really well, landed some good shots, busting Holland up, and then Holland battled back into the fight and was able to outscore him and get the job done. Great win for Kevin Holland. Matthew Gamrot, Esteban Ribovics. This was a pathetic performance by Esteban Ribovics. Now, having said that, this was a dominant, amazing performance from Gamrot. I just expected more from Ribovics, man. I thought he'd be able to scramble a little bit better. I thought that he would be a little bit smarter in his approach on the feet. When you know that you're facing a guy that's going to look to take you down, you don't load up and throw winging hooks. And that's exactly what Ribovics was doing. And he was, Gamrot easily could dip underneath, get to the hips, and take him down. Just this to me exposed a lot of the fight IQ of Esteban. It did. Because when you're facing a guy that's going to grapple and you're the striker, you need to be throwing straight, clean shots down the middle right at the chest line, deterring some of those takedowns. I'm not saying it would have made a difference. I think Gamrot clearly would have won this fight either way. But I'm saying Ribovics did himself no favors to be able to get this one done. So very disappointed to see Ribovics the way that he performed in this fight. But, Gamrot just showed levels. He was a way better grappler. We knew that coming into this fight. I thought that Ribovics would be able to scramble, get to his feet, and win a fight based on damage if he was able to get it done. But if he didn't, Gamrot was just going to dominate him on the floor. Now, I didn't think he'd finish him, so that was very impressive. That we saw Gamrot landing ground and pound, flowing from position to position, floating on the ground very nicely, and then able to stop him via submission was very impressive. Very impressive and just showed levels. Absolutely showed levels. And I think Gamrot should now fight ahead in the rankings. Fought a guy that was unranked, a hyped up dude, and was able to take him out. So, great performance by Gamrot, man. One of the better grapplers that we have for sure in the light heavyweight division. One of the just best straight wrestlers in all of the UFC. And his striking looked pretty good as well. He was throwing some meat behind those shots, man. Good straight boxing, straight combos with the boxing. But to me, I thought Esteban would perform a little bit better than he did, man. Like, I was disappointed in his performance. And I know, shout out to Gamrot, he showed levels, and I understand that. I just didn't think that Ribovics would get that punked on the ground. And when you're on the feet, your corner said stop throwing kicks, and you just keep throwing kicks, right? And you're stepping in, throwing these big winging shots. Why are you doing that against a grappler? You're literally helping him get to his game. He could duck right under it. If you throw straight, he can't duck underneath that. He's going to get clipped right on the head. That's why you throw it at the chest line. So just a very unintelligent way to approach a grappler. So I don't know, man. That to me was a whack game plan from Ribovics. But at the end of the day, I don't think it would have mattered because Gamrot clearly showed levels. Massive advantage on the ground. Ran him over. Great performance by Mateusz Gamrot, a.k.a. Matthew, getting it done. Gamrot's, he's for real, man. Absolutely for real. Only losing to some of the best guys in the world. His wrestling is sensational. And to get a submission win, finish a fight, impressive stuff from Gamrot. Tatiana Suarez, Luque Godinez, picked Suarez to win this fight by a decision. Turns out she gets the submission, and she almost got knocked out. And Luque Godinez, the reason I didn't pick her to win this fight, she was clearly the better striker, had Suarez in all kinds of trouble, stung her badly with the right hand, but then showed bad fight IQ. And that was one of my big critiques with Luque is you can't trust her judgment in the fight, man. Stings her really bad, and then what, ego fights? Tries to out-grapple the grappler? What are you doing? Separate, disengage, get back to space, and then try to knock her out with the striking. Don't play into her game. Don't fight with your ego and try to take her down. I understand that you rocked her, but come on, man. That's the only way Suarez was going to win this fight. So to me, again, that's why I couldn't pick Godinez to win this fight. Because of the fact that we have these lapses in judgment with the fight IQ. And again, credit to Suarez, I picked her to win. And she's a super dominant wrestler and grappler. And I mean, to get to the back, flow very well. She's very, very physically strong. Landed a few shots on the feet, some good ground and pound. Was able to get to the back and submit her. It was a great performance by Suarez, especially after getting rocked and hurt really bad in the first round. But if you're Godinez, why are you entertaining the grappling? Frame off, get back to space, and try to take her out with your striking. I didn't understand that whatsoever from Luque Godinez, and that's one of the reasons that I have a hard time picking her in a matchup against a good grappler because you see these lapses in judgment with the fight IQ. But that was a good performance by Suarez, battling early adversity, getting to the ground, taking her down, getting to the back, getting the submission, and just way physically stronger and just imposed her will on Godinez when it comes to the overall grappling. So good fight. It was actually very entertaining, especially Godinez catching her. I'm like, oh no, she's going to knock her out. And then she tried to grapple her, and I'm like, nope. And then Suarez wrestled into her, was able to get her down, and probably even, I don't know what the scorecards were, but might even have taken that round because she was able to control Godinez the rest of the round and put her on bottom. Had that big moment, but outside of that, Suarez was able to dominate her with the grappling. So good win from Suarez. Luque, one of my favorite WMMA fighters to watch. He's got good striking, but the fight IQ, man, has always been something rather questionable. Early prelims, Chris Padilla versus Markel Mederos. This was an amazing fight. An amazing fight. Knew it would be. This was a fight I was saying I was really looking forward to. Some funny business going on is all I'm going to say. I thought Chris Padilla clearly won this fight, especially with the point deduction from Markel Mederos, which I like the point deduction because Mederos kept sticking the fingers out. So I actually like that. Padilla won, and they said that he won, and then he goes to the back. Suarez's fight ends, and then they're like, actually, the scorecards were that it's a draw. Like, this to me was not a draw, and how can you do that? Is Buffer, did he mess up, or I don't understand what happened. I don't understand what happened. Feels like some funny business went on, man, because I don't know how you let that play out and let a whole fight go by and then announce that. So, funny business to me. I thought Padilla won the fight. Mederos landed a good, sharp elbow, but outside of that, I mean, he was landing some good boxing combos, but Padilla was moving forward. One of the grappling exchanges was able to take the back of Mederos, but Markel's takedown defense did look good. He was sticking and moving, landing some good shots, but Padilla was walking forward the whole time, landing leg kicks, elbows, knees. Good boxing as well. This was a good fight, man. This was a competitive fight. I didn't think it was a draw. I thought Chris Padilla pretty clearly won this fight based on output, landed some damaging shots. Outside of eating that elbow, I thought that he was the guy that, I mean, yeah, that was a bad visual because he was cut open and bleeding, but I thought Padilla clearly won this fight over Mederos. I'm not quite sure what went on with the scoring. Some funny business there. Great fight. Knew it would be competitive. I thought Padilla would get it done by decision. To me, I thought he won this fight. I don't know how that this was a draw. Gastelum, Vicente Luque. This was one of the shockers of the night to me, man. I thought Kelvin Gastelum was easily going to get this fight. Was easily going to get this done, man. He looked like he showed up in actually decent shape for gas bubble standards. But Luque had other plans. Was able to sting him on the feet, drop him, and Kelvin made some serious mistakes on the ground, man. When you're the wrestler, why are you wrestling back up into Luque where you know that he's got nasty front headlock position maneuvers, man? He's got really good anacondas, really good darces. Like, that's just not a position you want to be in against Luque. And wrestled right into him, gave up the neck, got into that front headlock position. I'm like, this thing's over. He's going to get submitted. And sure enough, he did. So great performance by Luque. Maybe some new life at middleweight. A guy that was being kind of count out, looked at, kind of washed up a little bit. Maybe some new life at 185, man. That was a great performance against Luque. Was able to drop, or a great performance against Gastelum. Was able to drop Kelvin, hurt him, hop on a submission, get him out of there. Great performance by Luque. Very disappointing from Kelvin Gastelum. Was having some early success, and then choosing to wrestle I thought was a little bit odd. Why even get into those entanglements where Luque is the more dangerous overall grappler? So again, questionable decision-making from Gastelum, but a great performance and a big win for Vicente Luque here. One of my favorite guys at 170, right? The crazy run. I felt like maybe this is the end of Luque, and goes out there and turns back the hands of time and gets it done against Gastelum. Big win for Luque, man. Last but not least, Charles Radtke versus Francisco Prado. I picked Charles Radtke to win this fight by decision for pretty much what we saw. And not only did Radtke win, but he looks like a more inflated version of Gaethje, doesn't he? He kind of looks like Gaethje a little bit. Charles Radtke fought very smart, and we saw that in his last fight against Frunze, to where, I think his name is Frunze, right? Kind of that hyped up guy. That was pretty dangerous. Radtke was able to sub him in round 3. That's what we kind of saw in this fight. Prado came out aggressive, landed some good shots, but really it was the difference that Radtke was going to fight patient and smart. Landed some shots on the feet, got stung up a little bit. Prado was landing good kicks to the body, good leg kicks as well. But Radtke was able to out-grapple him. Land some good shots. Glad the referee took the point as well for the eye pokes. I think that was Goddard, right? He was very stern in this fight. I'm glad he did, because Prado literally forked him like that with the fingers. So that was good refereeing. Radtke clearly won this fight. Out-grappled him, landed some good shots on the feet as well. Looked very technical. He's a good grappler. And when he fights smart, we see what he's capable of. So that was a good win over a solid young fighter in Francisco Prado, who has dropped a few in a row, but he's had some competitive fights. This was a good win for Radtke, and was active on bottom, cutting him open with some elbows as well. Good performance and a much-needed win there for Charles Radtke. He's been very good in the UFC outside of losing to Prochazka and Malott, I think, are his only losses, right, in the UFC. So Radtke's been looking pretty good, man. So that was a great performance, especially when he fights very smart. So if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This was maybe the worst I've done in terms of picks on a card, but I knew when you had a card like this to where the odds are really close, you got these great matchups, fights can go either way, man. What you think's going to happen doesn't happen. So yeah, a little bit on the rougher side when it comes to the picks, but I really enjoyed this card, man. So I'll see you guys next time.